We are back with Chapter 10 of Core Justice, the first book of the Core Justice novels. I won't explain anything, let's just jump in. Chapter 10, Camp Spartan, Arrington, Tennessee. Okay, Cal, we're pulling into the compound. How are you feeling? The voice belonged to Dr. Rich Hadley, the physician Travis had hired. I'm good, Cal said, coming to after a quick doze in the ambulance. Here already? I was just getting used to your stories. Dr. Hadley chuckled. He did not have what you call a normal medical practice. After successfully completing his double residency and fellowship in internal medicine and general surgery, Dr. Hadley had decided to take a left turn, becoming a concierge doctor for the country music stars in the Nashville area. It was Music City, after all. It was a great conversation starter, which had paved the way for a sort of interview session Cal conducted to pass the time on the car ride. Dr. Hadley had struggled for the first couple years after school until he'd met Cal's cousin, Travis. Travis, being the social butterfly that he was, quickly became friends with outgoing and adventurous Dr. Hadley. Both were in their late 30s and had the luck of being endowed with rugged good looks. I almost tripped over that one. Both shared a love of two things, outdoors and women. Between the pair, they'd cut a wide swath within the ranks of the Southern Belles in Nashville. Over time, Travis had introduced Dr. Hadley to his country music friends. In the past 5 years, his private concierge practice had grown to include most of the respected country singer-songwriters in the area. Why go to a crowded clinic when you can call your own doctor? Dr. Hadley had also been more than happy to help Travis and SSI on occasion. This was one of those times. Once we stop, I'll have some of the guys lower your stretcher down and roll you into the VIP quarters. Travis is putting me in VIP? Cal asked. You'd rather he put you in one of the Quonset huts? Not really. Good. Now, make sure you don't move around while they cart you in. Travis would be pissed if I delivered his favorite cousin in a bloody mess. Whatever you say, Doc. The ambulance pulled to a stop and Cal could hear the driver getting out of the cab and closing the door. The back doors were opened and Cal saw a couple of roving security guards moving in to help lift the gurney out of the ambulance. Cal looked around and felt the pull of home. He'd spent plenty of time in the compound that his father had christened Camp Spartan due to his fascination with the ancient warriors of Sparta, but also due to the fact that it was a fairly accurate description of the Spartan facilities. Much of the compound was modeled after Marine Corps bases. You had headquarters and then separate buildings for each division. Battalions were located on the lower levels of their respective division. Cal's father had put a lot of time into hiring former military. He understood that these warriors craved the familiar look and feel of military surroundings. That's not to say that the grounds weren't state-of-the-art. Cal Sr. had insisted on having a top-notch facility while at the same time maintaining a Marine Corps look and feel. The compound was actually more of a campus. The mess hall was located between the headquarters buildings and between the headquarters building and the living quarters just behind that. One of the things the company found was that many of the families of employees also enjoyed living in close proximity, just as they had on military bases around the world. As a result, a portion of the campus was devoted to single-family homes for the families of SSI employees. There was even a condominium compound for non-married employees. Well, that's interesting. I completely forgot about that detail about Camp Spartan. You keep learning something new. It was easy for spouses to come for lunch or meet their families to eat in the mess hall. Needless to say, morale was high, as was retention within SSI. The exception to the Spartan decor was the VIP quarters. Housed on the highest point of the property, the structure looked like a huge hunting lodge, resplendent with a carved log exterior and large paneled windows. There were even rocking chairs on the huge front deck for visitors to enjoy. The entire structure stood at right around 30,000 square feet with 10 large guest suites. It was, therefore, no wonder that the employees had taken to calling it the Lodge. Soon after SSI experienced its enormous growth, Cal Sr. realized the benefit of having the ability to house VIPs on site. It allowed visitors to see firsthand the inner workings of Stokes Security International. If potential clients weren't sold after the initial presentation, they certainly were after being wined and dined by the staff at the lodge. Dr. Hadley directed the paramedics to take Cal up through the ramped entrance. Cal noticed Brian standing next to his car parked in the front. The former corpsman walked over and followed the crew into the building. Cal leaned over and whispered into Cal's ear, "Do I get to stay here too?" They moved into the inner sanctum of the lodge. An old-fashioned bar, fully stocked, stood in the corner facing a variety of comfortable-looking leather chairs. "I'm sure they're going to put you up in one of the suites next to where they've got me." "Suite?" "Yeah," Cal laughed. "They've got a couple bedrooms and a nice living area. This is where the company houses visitors, prospective employees, and VIPs. Brian continued to stare wide-eyed as they passed through each enormous room. Are they looking to have an old corpsman turned nurse on staff? I don't know, but I'll ask. Cal smiled at his friend, glad to have some levity in an otherwise degrading experience of being wheeled in on a gurney. They arrived at a bank of elevators. Dr. Hadley pressed the button for the second floor. Travis has you in the corner suite. Cal nodded. He thought that's where they'd put him. The corner suite was more like a presidential penthouse. 4,000 square feet of living area, way more than he needed, but at least he could take advantage of the view. The floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the majority of Camp Spartan. It would be good to see it again. The team moved into the oversized elevator, and it rose to the second level. Exiting the elevator, they turned to the right and headed to the end of the hall. One of the staff members withdrew a key card, inserted it in the lock, and held the door open for the stretcher. Brian, who'd been following behind, let out a small, impressed gasp. The place was huge, furnished with the same decor as the rest of the lodge. What do you think? Cal called back to him. I think the corner suite is bigger than any house I've ever lived in, Brian said. Dr. Hadley was all business as he instructed the crew to move Cal to the oversized sofa that faced the glass wall. How many times have I used the word oversized in this chapter? With some effort, Cal scooted to the edge of the gurney, maneuvered over to the sofa, and sat back. I'll call Travis and let him know that you're settled, said Dr. Hadley. I'm sure he already knows you're here, but he wanted me to give him a heads up once you were safely in your room. Great. Now I'm going to have to check in with Trav before I take a piss, Cal said. Dr. Hadley pursed his lips. You know he's only looking out for you, Cal. I know, Doc. Here's my card. If you need anything, call me. For the rest, Brian will take care of you. I'll stop by a couple times a day to check in. I'm right down the hall. You're staying here too? Dr. Hadley grinned. Are you kidding? Have you had the bread pudding here? If your cousin is going to employ me, I'll be happy to take full advantage. Besides, my place is 30 minutes away, and Travis's instructions were for me to be immediately available. Thanks for doing that, Doc. Don't thank me. Thank Travis for paying my enormous bill. The good-looking doctor smiled and left the room. Cal turned to Brian. I'll bet he's not even charging us. The good doctor tries to play the part of the money-hungry surgeon, but it's obvious he enjoys this cloak and dagger stuff. Yeah, I got the same vibe. Seems like a pretty good guy. You know, for a doctor. Yeah, Cal said. All right, so now you're going to tell me what the hell this place is. What's your dad's company do? They must be making millions. Cal laughed. You want the long or the short version? Where do I have to go? I'm your babysitter, remember? Yeah, don't remind me. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So that's the first time that we see and hear about Camp Spartan, which coincidentally we are also trying to build through our nonprofit Operation C4, which you can find out about on my website or go to operationc4.com. But I'm not here to sell that. I'm here to talk about the story. So I live very close to Arrington, Tennessee right now. Once again, I'm still looking over here. I guess I just like to look at my own reflection. I need to be looking at you guys. Arrington, Tennessee is south of Nashville. I live in College Grove, Tennessee currently, and it's beautiful. Lots of beautiful land, lots of rolling hills. And when I first started writing this series, I thought about where I would want my headquarters to be. Luckily, I had beautiful land not far from where I lived, so I chose Arrington, Tennessee to put Camp Spartan. And later on, we'll find out about the second headquarters that SSI has. But I envisioned this place that felt very much like the Marine Corps that I missed. I love going to Marine Corps bases because to me, everything still, even though it might be newer than back when I was there, it still looks the same. It still smells the same. It's where I grew up. And to have that feeling out in the civilian world, including a detail that I'd completely forgotten about, homes for families. That's actually something we've thought about doing for our nonprofit, is having those houses that families can come and stay, and how special that would be. So anyway, you guys got to discover something right along with me. It's been a minute since I've been gone back to this story, and it's the little details that I love. So hang in there for chapter 11 coming in a minute.